So our new menu that we just dropped is our holiday menu. This menu was a lot of fun. I think it has a little bit more indulgences than maybe some of our other menus because this is the time of year to really celebrate and just enjoy food. I love cooking around the holidays. It's fun. It has so much emotional connection to it. So getting started, our soup and our salad for both the 3 and the 5-course menus. Our soup, we took kind of a little spin on a classic potato leek soup. But what we do is we integrate some bacala or salt cod into this soup. So it has this flavor of kind of, it's clam chowder-esque, but it also is reminiscent of kind of like a salt cod croquette or a salt cod fritter. So it's a nice twist and a nice play on a classic soup. Garnished with a little bit of dill, rye crouton, and some trout roe. Our salad, we're using awesome sweet Brussels sprouts from Jacobi Farms. I love doing shaved Brussels sprout salads, especially when the weather's cool and the Brussels sprouts are really at their peak, and they love that cold weather because it brings out the sweetness in them. So we shave them really thin, and then we toss them with some slow-roasted butternut rugosa squash from Farmer Fred at Green Bee Farm. We mix that with persimmon vinaigrette, and that's made with persimmon vinegar from last year's persimmon harvest that we inoculated with a vinegar mother, and then we fermented and then slow pressed. So we're actually using vinegar from last season to build the vinaigrette. A little bit of pecans, so we use some Berber spice to give it a little bit of warmth, a little bit of just a little bit of zip to it. That all gets tossed together and finished with some pomegranates and then grated midnight moon cheese, which is an aged goat Gouda from Central Coast Creamery in San Luis Obispo. Appetizers on our 5-course. First, we're highlighting a Peruvian dish called Tiradito, and we're using hamachi, so it's also known as yellowtail. We do a very, very simple light cure on the hamachi. We slice it thin. Then it gets garnished with some hominy from Rancho Gordo, some purple Japanese sweet potato, and then what makes the dish a tiradito is the sauce that goes on top. It's a mixture of orange and lime juice with a little bit of ginger and garlic. Tiradito is kind of the missing link between sashimi and ceviche, and it's indicative of the emigration of Japanese individuals coming through Peru, and they brought their culture and their cuisine, so it kind of is true fusion cuisine at its best. Keeping with pork belly on the menu, so this one was inspired by the Norman Rockwell Christmas hams, the glazed ham that's coated in brown sugar with some pineapple and maraschino cherries. So we took a lot of those familiar flavors, but instead of brown sugar, we're using piloncillo, which is a raw form of sugar popular in Central and South America to glaze the pork belly. We still use pineapple, but we apply a 4-day lacto-fermentation process, so it gives a little bit of depth and a little bit of kind of pleasant funk. But then after the ferment, we put it on the grill and give it a little char. Pineapple loves the grill. And then to garnish it, we do some thin slices of red Fresno chili, and they're supposed to mimic those awful maraschino cherries that you find on those hams. Another dish I love doing during the holidays is baked brie. I was able to find some really cool individual-sized bries. So we're making individual portion baked brie en croûte. So that means it's wrapped in a puff pastry dough. We do make these off to order, so the brie is nice and oozy and gooey when it comes out of the oven. We serve it with a little bit of cranberry relish, some sliced apples from K&J Farms, and beautiful fresh greens grown by Diane in Sonoma Forest. Our entree selection for the 3rd course, bringing back Mount Lassen trout. We love working with the product from North Central California, an incredibly rich and buttery farmed trout. So we just leave that skin on, and then we roast it so the skin gets nice and crispy. And the base is inspired by Thai soup, tom kha gai. So it's a coconut milk base, and it's infused with lemongrass, galangal, Thai chilies, some shallot, and then kefir lime leaves, which are getting from the trees at our friends at K&J Orchards. Slow simmer that broth, super aromatic, it's rich, it has a lot of depth to it. And then we simmer some lion's mane mushrooms from deadwood mushrooms and some diced taro root, and that's the base. So it's kind of a nice, warm, and hearty dish for when the weather gets cool, but then the trout really pops sitting on top, and then we finish it with some fresh herbs like cilantro, scallions, and just a drizzle of chili oil. Another rich, soul-satisfying dish is coq au vin. I love cooking it when the weather gets cold, so we're using pasture-bred chicken out of Temecula. Incredible free-range chicken. It just has so much natural, pure chicken flavor. 3-day process to do this, between soaking the chicken after it's been butchered in the red wine, and then we slow braise it, and then we rest it overnight, and then strain it and bring the sauce out. So very long process for a very simple but hearty dish. It's a chicken leg, chicken wing, and a piece of chicken breast. And then we finish it with some Nantes carrots, oyster mushrooms, and some pearl onions, and some chopped bacon on top, of course. And then some fresh pasta that we toss with butter, fresh tagliatelle, and just give a little bit of side of clean buttered noodles. Our vegetarian option for both 3 and 5 course is a cauliflower steak. So what we do is we cut the center part out of each cauliflower, so it is a center cut steak. We leave it on the core, mimicking the bone. We brush that with some olive oil, get a really nice char on the grill, and then finish that in the oven. And then we plate it with mole poblano. So this is traditional mole from the state of Puebla, Mexico. It's one of the more well-known moles outside of Mexico. It's the one that has chocolate in it, but it just has deep and rich flavors. And the ingredient list is probably about 30 ingredients that go into this. But after the cauliflower steak is grilled, we finish it with some of the mole sauce, mixture of sunflower and pumpkin seeds, some fresh pomegranates and arugula, and then on the side, a little cup of arroz rojo, Mexican red rice to complement. Pastas on our 5-course, so 2 very decadent pastas, but also perfect for this time of year. First is rigatoncini, so a smaller rigatoni, but we're doing it in the style of Norcina. So it's an Umbrian style of pasta, north central Italy. And we still had some of our truffles from Umbria, which was the inspiration of this dish. So we made a black truffle pork sausage. We cook the sausage, we break it up into crumbles to order, and then the pasta goes in, and it's a white wine, onion, and cream-based sauce that goes into there. We simmer that until it's nice and rich, finish it with some pecorino romano and a couple turns of nutmeg just to kind of round it out. The sausage is a northern Italian style sausage, so it's different in flavor profile than what you'd commonly think of Italian sausage. You're not going to find chili or fennel. What you're going to find is allspice and onion and garlic. So it's a very different style, but also we don't want to overwhelm the flavor of the truffle either. Tagliatelle pasta. This is a very simple pasta meant to highlight, many people's favorite ingredient this time of year, and that's Dungeness crab. So we timed this menu perfectly, or we got lucky, however you want to look at it. But as soon as we rolled out the menu was the second day that commercial Dungeness crabs became available. So we're sourcing them from Fort Bragg, a little further up the coast of California. Fresh picked Dungeness crab meat, nice generous portion that sits on top of the tagliatelle pasta, which is a long, thin egg noodle that we simmer with just a Meyer lemon and butter sauce. We do make a crab stock with the shells as well, and that kind of gives a little bit of richness and depth of flavor, but just simple, clean flavors. It's California winter. It's Dungeness crab and Meyer lemon. Entrees for our 5-course. I like scallops this time of year. Also, our local fisheries start to slow down a little bit, so my fish purveyor has a lot of great partners on the East Coast. These are incredible dayboat scallops. The dayboat, it seems kind of obvious, but it's not just a tagline. It means the boat goes out, catches the scallops, and comes back within the same day. In the fishing industry, there are many boats that are actually built with onboard freezers and ice and slush buckets that will go out for days at a time, sometimes over a week, catch the fish, and then bring it back. So the freshness is incredible. They harvest the scallops, and they're on a plane that night. We receive them the next morning. So seared scallops, and that goes with a hash of slow-roasted parsnips, some Castelfranco radicchio, and sultanas that have been poached with a little bit of sherry wine, and then we finish the dish with a vanilla pancetta vinaigrette. Vanilla just gives it a really nice background, but accentuates all kind of the sweet flavors that are winding their way through the dish between the scallops, the raisins, and the parsnips. We sourced some incredible venison loin. It's a Cervina-style venison loin coming from Colorado. Incredibly clean. It's not overly gamey. It eats just like a super rich steak. Really, really nice product. And because of that, we want to kind of hands off and let the venison shine. Really, really high heat. A nice medium rare cook on the steak. And then we serve it with a celery root and potato pave. Pave meaning paving stone in France. So it's mimicked to look like something that you would see lining a sidewalk or building a path to a yard. But what we do is we thin slice potatoes and celery root, and then we layer them on top of each other, brush them with just a little bit of cream and butter, and then slow cook that until they break down, and then we press it so all the layers stick together. And then we cut it into these little rectangles that mimic the paving stones, and then just roast that in a little bit of butter. Some dino kale from Happy Acre Farms that we braise very slowly, and then finished off with pontoc, but it's an elderberry condiment. It's common in British cuisine, but our friend Diane made us an incredible elderberry syrup, and we build the sauce out of that. A little bit of shallots, a good amount of vinegar, and then some seasonings like allspice, black pepper, and juniper. Sourcing guinea hen from Joyce Farms in North Carolina. We've worked with Joyce Farms before. Incredible program that they're doing in raising these unique game birds. So this is a duo preparation where you get a piece of the guinea hen breast, and then we make a chicken nugget out of the legs. So we grind up the leg meat, and then we form that into a paste, and then we form that into the nuggets, do a light dredge, and then we do a double fry on it, get it really nice and crispy. Serve that with some hard roasted broccoli, a little bit of Tokyo turnips from Happy Acre Farms, and then Satsuma sweet and sour sauce. So Satsuma mandarins coming from K&J Orchards, and then we glaze the whole plate with a little sweet and sour, really giving you that vibe of chicken nuggets and sweet and sour sauce. A fun play for the holidays. Wouldn't be the holidays if there wasn't some kind of gingerbread. So the gingerbread found its way into our donuts. We changed our donut dough to have more of a gingerbread vibe to it, a little molasses, a little bit of ginger and allspice in the dough. Toss it with the ginger sugar, and then we serve it with cream cheese that's been whipped with Amaro Montenegro, which is an Italian digestif, and then some orange juice and orange zest. For me, I think chocolate and mint really kind of is nostalgic for the holiday times. It's just those flavors really work, so I wanted to play with those flavors. And we create a very simple but really decadent and elegant chocolate tart. And it kind of mimics a York peppermint patty or an Andes candy going down that road. But we do a chocolate pâte sucrée crust, and then we line that with a white chocolate and mint ganache, and then that gets topped with a semi-sweet chocolate ganache on top of that. And then a peppermint creme chantilly gets piped on top right at the end. So very simple and clean flavors, but really rich. Another dessert that I really like doing this time of year is sticky toffee pudding, and this is something that I've had on my mind for a few years. And typically sticky toffee pudding, and now this is a British pudding, so that means it is cake-like. It's not a cornstarch and liquid base. But it's traditionally made with dates, and one of the things that we love doing here in the fall is hanging our persimmons, our hoshigaki. So I thought to myself, it's like, well, they have so many similarities to them, both in texture and flavor, why wouldn't one work? So it was an experiment, but it turned out really, really well. But to finish off the dish, we do a scoop of vanilla gelato, and sticking with kind of the Japanese theme with the hoshigaki, we make a butterscotch with Suntory Japanese whiskey. Very simple and clean, but just really rich, butterscotchy, molassesy flavors.